My family and I live in an apartment on the first floor, so my cat's solution is to sit under one of our balconies and meow at the top of his lungs to get our attention. When we're home, it works perfectly fine, but when we're not, it's a lot less effective. So our solution was to gently ask our neighbors that have the key to our apartment to bring him up so he doesn't have to wait outside all day. Those that don't have the key sometimes let him inside the building so he's not literally outside. For example, when it's raining. Our apartment is a bit special because it's bigger than the others. So to get inside, there are two ways when you get into the main hall. 1. Take the stairs to the left and open the door that has 2 locks. 2. Use the elevator with the special key that goes directly inside our apartment, and the door only has 1 lock. The cat used the second option, and me too, cause we're both lazy. But when the neighbors that don't have the key let him inside the building, he goes up the stairs and waits. Since I usually use the elevator from the parking, 2 floors below, that means I don't see him waiting in the hall, and he meows outside the door to get me to open up for him, or my dad and mom. All around we have our habits with my parents and neighbors, and it works fairly well. Now you know how everything goes with my little guy. Anyway, here's what happened a while ago. My parents like the outdoors very much, so I'm usually left alone in the weekends. Generally, it means taking care of the chores and inviting my friends over so we can have the apartment to ourselves, which is pretty nice. This time I was alone. It was late, 11 p.m.-ish, and I was just chilling in the living room before hearing meowing over the sound of the TV. Someone let my cat in the building, and he's waiting outside the door. I took my keys, and I started opening the first lock. I don't know about other pet owners, but I know that my cat meows by heart. It's kind of a rising meow that's very high-pitched and very cute at the same time, and that also has a specific rhythm because I've been hearing it nearly every day for 5 years. So I stopped. The noise isn't what it usually is. It's too deep and just off. This isn't my cat outside my door, and he's the only cat around that knows he has to wait by the door and scream to be let inside. By that point, I'd stopped halfway through opening the door, and I waited to hear him again, and I noticed scratching. My cat never scratches that door. At that point, I'm super weirded out by the situation, but the meowing is getting super loud, and I didn't want the neighbors to be woken up. So I continued with my key, but suddenly, I hear another noise that freaked me out. A cough. For the record, I'm not a very cautious person, and in my whole 21 years of living in this apartment, I must have looked in the peephole a total of maybe 5 times, but a small part of my brain told me to do it that night, and thank God it did. So I let go of my keys, and I put my eye against the door, and I saw it. A man standing there, fucking meowing in front of my door. To say that I was terrified is really an understatement, but my heart stopped. I just stood there petrified for what felt like an hour. I don't really know how long it took for me to move again, but eventually my body just took over, I guess. I did what you'd expect, ran for my phone, stood in the corner of the living room, and I called the police. By the time they came, there was nobody in front of the door. I can't even remember when the meowing stopped, and they just took my testimony before telling me to be cautious, and then they left. To this day, I still don't know what the meowing guy wanted. I'm not sure I want to anyway. I also don't know how he got inside the building, since you need a key to access it, and also how he knew that I would open the door if he imitated my cat in front of it. At least I will be careful from now on. And my cat eventually came back since then. He's actually sleeping in my bed as I write this. The story is my best friend Chloe's story, but somehow I got brought into the craziness of her ex-boyfriend. Chloe was 14 at the time when she got together with her boyfriend named Alex. Even from the start, he was very abusive. He would call her things like a whore, a slut, etc. When they got deeper in the relationship, he would slowly push away all of her friends, including me. When she had broken up with him on one of the many times, she FaceTimed me randomly. We weren't really friends at this time, but I still had a bad feeling, so I decided to answer it. When I answered her FaceTime, she had whispered that Alex was at her window, and in the call, you could hear knocking on her window. Her room was in the basement, so it's a very small window. He would have to lay down or crouch to knock on it. This scared me, so I told her to call the police or go upstairs and get her mom, but she was frozen in fear, and she wouldn't even answer my questions. I went out and told my dad just in case of an emergency. When she didn't hear knocking for 15 minutes, we thought he left. I saw the horror on her face when I then heard the window break open. It was Alex trying to climb through the window. I quickly texted her mom while still on the phone with her. All you could hear was Chloe's screams and her telling him to leave. When he had noticed she was on the phone with someone, he accused her of being on the phone with a boy. When she had told him it was me, he freaked out though, still trying to get in the window while cussing me out. Chloe slapped him in the face, doing anything she could to get him to leave. I felt relieved when I then heard her mom yell her name, with Alex leaving out the window, and he was gone. They called and talked to the police, and so did I, since I was a witness on the phone. A police report was made, but sadly, that wasn't the end of this. She got back together with him out of fear for her family, as he would threaten to kill them. Chloe had been held at gunpoint through physical assault, sexual assault, and also emotional assault. After they broke up for the last time, he then turned his focus onto me. He would try to text me, and he would try to get with me. I ended up blocking him and reported his account. We had seen him a few times after all this. The last encounter I had with him was at a fair in our hometown. Me and Chloe were walking around and we were looking for a ride to go on, and that's when I saw him. He was staring at us. I felt immediately uncomfortable, and stupidly, I told Chloe and I pointed at him. After that, he started walking over to us. The look in his eyes didn't even look human. He looked plain evil. We ran away. We ran all the way to my house, which was blocks away. We haven't seen him since, but I really do fear for anyone who becomes romantically involved with him. I used to be one of those girls who ignored all of the red flags when it came to the men in my life. I was so desperate to find the perfect man for me that I always tried to make excuses and also rationalizations for their behaviors. This is the perfect story to educate young women to never ignore that voice in the back of your head, the one that's screaming, "Something's off here." Needing love just isn't worth the risks. It was a warm, sunny afternoon, and I was walking home from work. I didn't want to go back to my lonely apartment on such a beautiful day. So as I was coming up to my local park, I decided to go sit on the swings and enjoy the cool breeze and just soak in the beautiful sunshine and just clear my head from the stressful workday. Across the park, I noticed a tall, handsome man walking his dog. I saw that he was blatantly staring at me, and it was obvious he noticed. I couldn't help but stare at him. It didn't take long before he made his way over to me, and he asked what I was doing all alone on such a beautiful day. His dog got close enough to me and he jumped on my lap, and he started rubbing his head all over me and licking me. I loved animals, so I didn't get alarmed that a strange dog was on me. He then started laughing and then said, "Oh wow, he's a pretty good judge of character. You must be a real sweetheart." I also started laughing, and I then said that it's been a long day, and I said I needed that to brighten my day. We started making small talk, and eventually, he had stated that his own life hasn't been so swell lately either. He then said to me, "Maybe tomorrow we can meet back here, and then go for a walk and talk some more." I agreed, and I met him promptly at 5 p.m. the next day. There he was, looking even more handsome the next day, as if he purposefully spiffed himself up more to see me that day. We walked for a while, and we asked each other the normal questions that people ask when first getting to know each other. I noticed that his phone kept going off, and each time he would hit the ignore button,